So here we are at Snakes and Lattes. The reason being there's a tangent in my thesis work that is borderline Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. So that's the reason why I kind of thought of this, and it's nice because they have beer and whatnot.
Yes. Yeah, give me like context.
Okay, context.
Yep.
Is that there's a study that says when a city doubles, productivity per resident on average increases 15%.
Right, okay.
And the inverse is true for organizations. So there's a movement now which is called integral teal. Holacracy is what I'm interested in because that's part of that kind of movement.
Okay.
And the guy who initially developed this Holacracy is a software developer, which is neat because you kind of are in that sphere.
Right, okay.
Remember the project that we did in Suzanne's class, and you mentioned Agile Manifesto?
Yep.
So
yep.
Agile, Scrum, Lean.
Yeah.
He's a guy who loves that part, which works for operations, projects, and he kind of figured through trial and error, he didn't figure it right away. What if we did this with organizations?
Steam is a good example. I think an interesting example where it
they
works,
have a similar thing.
But it's like extremely unique in the sense that like the only people that would succeed in that kind of workplace are like a very specific type of person.
Who can self-organize, I imagine.
Yeah.
But also
and self-initialize.
People are, I think they've adopted, 300 or 400 companies have been trying this out. And this is more of a practice rather than a theory. Just like a soccer, you can't really read the rule book and just be awesome at soccer. You have to really try soccer.
For sure.
And that's what I want to aim to do with my thesis. It would be awesome kind of to get people a glimpse of one process from this thing.
Okay.
And that's a round-based governance meeting. So basically, bi-weekly, they hold a governance meeting to readjust roles, the accountabilities, the domain, in an agile kind of way.
Okay.
Now I'm not really sure how to get visitors at the graduation exhibit to partake in that without getting bored of me explaining for 15 minutes the whole thing.
So you're gonna try to do this for your thesis? Not for, but you're gonna integrate this workflow while you're doing your thesis?
Yeah, kind of while, and then the output would be a kind of experiential participatory method, kind of like an elicitation.
Okay.
Where you would maybe, here I'm just spitballing, you would arrive, get a role, in Dungeons and Dragons you would get a role of a dwarf or mage or whatever, and you kind of play that role. It can be hard to explain rules of a board game to visitors.
Right.
Unless, what if by entering in this thing, which takes maybe 2 or 3 minutes, but now you're part of it for a week. So you could check your phone or an app or a website or come back and you're still part of it somehow. Because Holacracy is a long-term thing, you can't really just I get it in 2 minutes.
Even though it is meant for organizations, is it something that you in relation to your thesis that you want to make it more of a game? What would make those people want to play over the duration of the week?
That's something I have to figure out.
Okay.
I think it has something to do with role-playing. When people do role-playing in, for example, when games like Farmville, for example, it's amazing how successful that is because it's a weird game, but you're in the role of a farmer with really repetitive stuff, right? You're farming.
You touched on something that's important, though, is that the game continues when you're not playing it. Right?
Exactly.
Same thing with Warcraft and stuff. It's not like everyone who's participating controls it, and if you're not there, you kind of have this FOMO or fear of missing out aspect of I'm not gaining any more experience points. But in digital theory, there was talk about avatars and actually growing a relationship or a developing relationship with your online personality. Really interesting. I have a hard time to speak to that. Every time people try to get me to participate or play with fantasy baseball or whatever, it's not the same as an avatar, but I have.
But it's similar. It's a similar sphere.
I have no I don't follow through with it. But I think that's an edge case because it is a very successful online model for gaming. It's fantasy sports.
Kind of get your last thought on it is that with Deleuze and Guattari, they were talking about rhizomes. And Foucault was talking about we hold multiplicity of roles. So you're a student, but you're also a boyfriend, and you're a son, and all the time, especially now in a network society. We are just juggling these roles.
Right.
And even though it's hard, we are quite adept at it.